There it goes. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Hey, there's Mike. Didn't think I'd be missing you. Okay, we just called to order. Call it 5:04, I suppose. We do have a quorum. Eleanor, I could do a quick roll call, or if maybe you see it, but we have Larry Corsell, Esther, Caleb as our project manager, Peter Werner, Eleanor Jones, Mike Small, and Laura Black are all here. Okay, next on the agenda, approval of agenda. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda as written?
I'll make a motion that we approve the agenda as written.
Motion by Chris, second.
Larry, second.
Larry, second. Thank you. All in favor to approve the agenda? Say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion approved. Approval of previous meeting minutes. Anybody have any troubles or need any changes with the meeting minutes? Thank you, Eleanor, for drafting those. They were, I think, quite simple because we kind of went into executive session, so I think there wasn't a lot. Can I have a motion to approve the meeting minutes of the June meeting?
Motion to approve, Larry.
Okay. It's the June Executive Committee meeting.
Yeah, June 14th.
Is there a second?
I'll second it, Peter.
Thank you, Peter. All in favor to approve the meeting minutes of June 12th. Whoops.
14th.
14th. Please say aye.
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 Thank you. Those are approved. Okay. I do have numerous bits of information that I hope to share just right through the agenda. I have notes that they don't probably quite match the agenda, but we'll keep going. And we will need to decide whether to go into executive session at any point that we might need to. Not sure we do, depending on what we want to talk about. So construction application updates. I think we are planning to submit the application. I think the last date was that we were going to submit on Friday. I think there's a couple howevers, but our partner will be ready. Our construction planning is ready. The only thing is that I just got off the phone with Lisa Birmingham of Lamoille and our counsel, our legal counsel, and there's still like a couple small items in the accountability terms, which are like the customer service metric, and maybe a little bit of the construction performance measure. It might be that those should be absolutely ironed out, and they may be tomorrow. I don't know. That could postpone our application, for example, to say Monday or Tuesday or something. I'm not exactly sure. I don't think it's a problem, but we're already slipping a day and a day and a day. So it is important that we do submit. But it is important that the terms, the accountability terms with our partner are the same as Lamoille's. So my understanding and my opinion is it's important to have those the same. And they're just getting worked out to the very, very last item. Questions? And then I also want to describe the 25-3 stuff. Yeah, Mike.
My question is, are these accountability terms in alignment with the guidance that we're getting from VCBB that they're putting together? Is that what we're waiting for still? Is for them to finalize that?
Right. We're not waiting for them.
Okay.
So that's a good question. I wouldn't say that I absolutely have the answer, but certainly Lisa the Lamoille, I don't know if her title is executive director, it's something like that. She actually works for them as an executive director. You know, she's been very involved in reviewing the VCBB's current draft accountability policy. And for other members, if you haven't seen, that is kind of new. The VCBB did post a draft of an accountability policy that they're working on, that they hoped to discuss at their July 10th meeting. We all know what started to happen in the state on July 10th, so their meeting was postponed. They're meeting on this coming Monday instead, so that will be discussed. Yeah, there's probably more to tell. But yes, we want to be in alignment as best we can. I think there are items in that draft that are still under discussion, and you know, we'll have some CUDs will be responding to it as well. So good question. Let me bring up the other item that we've discussed with our partner that I think is, it's not information that is it's not necessarily public, but I think it's pretty public, is, you know, we've struggled with the 25-3 speed addresses, which we all understand that those are not supposed to be funded according to Act 71. However, we all want them funded. You know, in my mind, at this point, really, even VCBB wants them funded, but rules are not letting that happen so easily. But we have put together a game plan. One, we've done, thank you, Mike and Chris and Peter, Bill, who's not here, have done a lot of work to get some information back on those 25-3 addresses, so which we are starting to get, and that's great, and that's going to be really valuable as we continue negotiating with PCBB. But we won't have it, and we just for the application. And what we decided to do, I probably won't get this exactly right, Mike and Larry, help me out. But our partner is we're going to submit the application with we have 300 addresses in our,
133.
133 addresses, right, in our area. And they're actually all in phase 2. So we are going to submit those and request funding for those. We are going to be able to show them separately and the separate costs for them, and be able to have an open discussion with VCBB. And we will be able to include the research and the data that our CUD is working on the ground to find, you know, real data for. So far, most of the information from actual tests at those addresses is well under 25-3. One of them did come up as a valid 25-3. So I think that, you know, I think that was a good plan. That's what we're going with. And the VCBB, you know, if they turn us down, it's just taking that chunk out. It doesn't hold up our application or really change our funding very much. there's a dollar amount that's associated with that. So our partner has figured that out. So let's see, that's part of that. Let's see. I guess I'll go. So that's the story on our construction application schedule and so on. Questions? Or I'm going to move on to item number 5, which is almost a continuing partner discussions is item number 5. The partner discussions has really been sort of around how we're proceeding with the applications. So I don't have too much more for that. And you did just hear that we're still negotiating a couple points of the accountability, which is Schedule D of our contract. So, yeah, let me see. Anything else? Anyone else have something to add that we want to bring up or need to go into executive session to talk about any other specifics?
Laura, is Lisa from Lamoille taking the lead on these last couple things on the agreement?
I would say yes. I would
Okay.
say Lisa has taken the lead entirely. She's a professional in the communications industry, so she developed further accountability measures than were included in our contract. Like I said, she's been involved with reviewing what VCBB is putting into their policy, so at least has an awareness whether or not, not all of the CUDs, and I think including her, agree with everything that VCBB is putting into that policy, and they haven't even agreed amongst themselves yet. But yes, and as I'll remind you that we have Lamoille CUD has the same attorney as Otter Creek CUD. So there's a little, I'm trying to make a triangle there. So our legal is, he wrote our contract, he's writing their contract. And it's in everyone's desire to have the contracts be similar. I mean, we have different construction issues than Lamoille has, but the terms are supposed to be the same. What Lisa apparently is doing, and I think our partner is actually drafting like a terms sheet. It's kind of a bullet point from which the Schedule D of our contract is written. And it seems like that should be drafted. It's not something I could really do. I mean, I'd take a crack at it, but I'm asking Lisa to take the lead on that as well as our legal. And it will be a discussion with our partner as well, who we meet with them on Friday. So that's on my notes to stick with. I'd like to have one piece of paper that goes with our application that's called the terms of service. What is it called? I don't even know the right words. The terms sheet. Let me go on to general updates, unless there's any specific questions on partner discussions. Moving on. General updates. So let me just bring up a few other things that have been discussed. Some of you have been present for some meetings. Some of us met with the OCCUD chair, with Rob Beatsky, early this week. One thing that was mentioned, and I talked briefly Lisa Birmingham as well today, something we will talk further on, is that almost after we get the construction grant, fingers crossed, we get the construction grant, to manage the CUD, to not necessarily our reporting, but to do the construction management. There's thoughts and desires to, uh-oh, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
I can.
Yep.
Uh-oh. How's your Wi-Fi, Marianne?
I know I got disconnected a while ago for about 5 minutes. I just called in. Once I got the telephone number again.
I think Laura needs to have a
Yep.
good fiber connection.
We lost Laura.
Oh. Does that mean everybody? Well, does that mean the session will have to stop and then start again?
She's left the meeting. We'll see if she comes back.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sounds like we don't hear any audio. I don't know if you're muted or not.
There we go.
We got you.
Good.
I don't know. The Wi-Fi, it looks good, but who knows? You know, I'm all the way in Detroit, Michigan. Can't expect things to work. Crazy.
Wow.
So let's see. Sorry, where was I? Oh, yeah. So yes, there's a desire, and we think it's kind of smart. Even our VACUDA chair brought this up, that we should consider joining forces in with perhaps maybe hire same consultants for construction manager as we go along. We do not have that. We don't have it really. I'm not sure if it's budgeted. I think it's kind of mentioned. I had a brief discussion with Caleb before this meeting, asking if Vantage Point was really hired for construction services, which, you know, they're out of state, so they would have to hire somebody anyway. Lamoille does have a consultant who's boots on the ground in the area. So I don't know if she's suggesting we go with them, but Lisa Birmingham, the exec director, is going to set up a meeting between their board chair and my board chair. Anyone else is welcome to join. Larry, if you want to join, Mike, whoever, fine. Hasn't happened yet. We're just talking about it. One thing we probably need to do as well is, if you remember, we have quite a bit more money in our pre-construction grant that is set aside at the state level that we have not applied for. We've been trying to get a hold of someone at VCBB staff level to talk to about that. Hasn't happened. Now this week, things are discombobulated a bit. So I am waiting to hear from someone. But we should be able to apply for that money. And it's another 1.3 million, which can also help our construction fund. I still don't quite understand exactly how it works to be able to roll that money into our construction. It's supposed to be doable. It's not for construction, it is for pre-construction, but for example, our partner would use it for make-ready pole work and further engineering that they need to do or whatever. So that's still a bit of an unknown item. And it's another thing that I'm uncomfortable with, applying for, finishing our application and having that unknown. I'm not sure it has to be finished and applied for, but it seems like we should know where that money is and if it's how it's able to be applied and used in our construction plans. Planning next year.
Laura, a quick question. Is it appropriate to ask how much we have in that fund? What the balance is?
Originally, we were allotted 1.7 million. As you know, we've applied for 441,000 and some change, and we've been receiving that. I think, Caleb, what have we received? Like a third of that or something like that, right?
Or 25% we received up front. So we had 110,000.
Okay. We're using very little, Vantage Point, and you guys have not been doing a lot. You don't have a lot of hours in, and is it our auditor or accountant, the Seward's guy, whatever,
Accountant. Yeah.
accounting. So, our Google Voice, our 12th, we're not using very much of it, and I don't see that. That if that's all we needed money for all the way through construction, we wouldn't use it at all. But now I understand that we should have a construction manager at least, if not possibly also go in with another CUD and maybe even consider hiring an executive director. Isn't that what Rob Vitsky suggested? I forget. Larry, were you on that call? Mike,
Yeah, I was. To my knowledge,
plan.
we are the last CUD what I would consider to be fully volunteers doing it. And I mentioned the workload on Laura. And even going back to when Van Purcell was with us from Rutland Regional Planning Commission, he lobbied from day one that we get an executive director. That never happened, obviously. And we're at this point where, Laura has picked up all this and we're trying to help her the best we can. But we're at a point where we're going to need to look at construction manager or an executive director or joining with another CUD and sharing an executive director, because that's, we're getting to a point, this is getting to be a lot. So fortunately, we have Lisa from Lamoille working with us because they're going down a similar path that we are. The Chittenden CUD will probably go down a similar route, but they're just getting started. So they're in the background. And again, Southern Vermont CUD, they're just about completed on their entire build out.
Yeah.
I did say there may come a point in time where the CUDs that have the same ISP may want to join as one CUD.
Right.
And then you share executive directors and I've said many times before on the OCCUD board, the people I'm dealing with are executive directors, CEOs with telecom experience. They're taking over these CUDs and moving forward. They really have to, because a lot of them are building from scratch. They're doing something completely different than we are. But Chittenden County just started with a vote from last November to become a CUD. First thing they did was go out there and look for, and I think they've hired an executive director. So they've kind of looked at what everyone else has done and realized that this is the best way to get started. So we're at that point where we need to discuss, taking some of this workload off Laura, because we're getting close to that construction grant.
Right. And thank you, Larry. I would say it's not really even the workload, although my plan is to bring Rutland Regional Planning Commission in to do like a lot of administrative stuff. But I do not have the expertise in the telecom industry or even to, negotiate with large companies. Not my background. I don't know how to do that. And I agree. It's something that needs to be hired out to somebody that knows how. I asked Lisa if she wanted to do that, and she's very much looking forward to retiring, which she had done before she took on working as an exec direct for Lamoille CUD. So that's in the works. Early discussion. Y'all are the first to hear. So
Yeah,
we need
I guess I would like to understand a little bit more about what that role entails,
Mhm.
what the responsibilities are, and therefore, is this a full-time position that we're looking for, or not a full-time? Is it something that lends itself to being shareable between two CUDs if it's not really a full-time thing?
Yeah.
But I mean, I think, we just have to kind of peel that back a little bit. If there's a way we can get a job description and expectations from somebody, whether it's Fukuda or another
Yeah.
CUD, that would be helpful for us to understand what that role consists of.
Yeah, good point, Mike.
The other thing I was thinking is the reason I was asking about the pre-construction grant, not only for this purpose, but coming full circle back to the 25-3 conversation, if for some reason that should get rejected, would it be possible to use those funds for that?
Probably not, because the pre-construction is also issued through Act 71, but it doesn't mean we can't ask that question. Yeah. I
Yeah,
think
they might-
anything under Act 71 is tied to those rules, which
Yeah,
BEAD is not, the BEAD funding would be available, obviously.
right. Which is, who knows how long it's going to take to see the BEAD funding, or for the state to even get the BEAD funding.
Right.
Yeah, I would suggest we present our application with those addresses included and spiked out separately, get some guidance from the folks at the VCBB before we present, but keep that in our back pocket. If for some reason that should get rejected, it's like, well, we've got these other funds that have been allocated. So is there a way to convert those pre-construction funds into construction funds for this purpose?
Okay. I'm putting that down as a question for me to ask staff, VCBB staff. My thought is no, but I'll always ask.
Well, especially knowing that BEAD guidelines are different than Act 71 guidelines with respect
Oh,
to,
BEAD. Yeah, BEAD for sure.
so we know that's coming anyway. So come on, guys, and we know that the desire is that everybody should be getting 100
I
anyway.
know. Yeah. Like I said, I think everyone agrees that we want to serve that. It's just they wrote the statute that way and
Right.
and it's stuck
Well, they wrote the statute in alignment with FCC guidelines.
with FCC. Yeah, right. I keep slipping them. Yeah. All right. Let me see. Oh, hey, quick news. I went through the emails finally on the old outer OCCUD.org site and answered emails. And actually out of that, we have a new member from Goshen. So if he wanted to join this meeting, I said it's a public, he did not. But his name is Tyler Davidson Thomas, I forget exactly. But he seemed very interested in being engaged and helping, so that's great.
Mhm.
Glad to have them, and the select board sent the appointment. Awesome. We'll have another member joining us. And he has IT experience too, so that might be super helpful as well.
Yep.
Great. Let's see what's on my notes.
Can I ask something?
Please do.
You guys may have already talked about this because I might have missed part of it. But so how do you plan to accomplish the testing
The testing.
of those
Yes.
address?
There were kind of two things. We could send you we had an email that we put together and sent out to a group of 25-3 addresses, which were identified as addresses that if we verified those locations, I don't know if I can explain it well. If we verified those locations and verified that they had to be built to, then the other 25 3 addresses would have, I'll put it this way, would have fiber built along their roads anyway, so they'd
Okay.
be set up with access.
Oh, so
So-
you say, you're saying that you already did test some addresses.
We have, but
Okay,
we've
good.
sent out a notice to ask people to run a test, doing I don't know, like an OCCUD, I forget what we used. A
Yeah,
FCC
browser
test.
that runs
Online
it.
speed test, yeah.
Yeah, and ask them to, anything, contact us by email, phone, mail,
Okay. Oh.
however, and we're receiving some. We also have an overall, what was it? Did we send it? No, we just sent it out to 133 addresses, a mailing. Unfortunately, I didn't do any test mailings. I wish I had included my own address because those were sent, Caleb sent them, they were sent from Texas. So they're probably here in people's homes and mailboxes now as of several days ago. Hope they didn't get lost in the flood. But I haven't heard of any. If anyone asks around town if they've seen these mailings, I'd be interested.
We have a problem with those, but I'll get to that in a minute.
Okay, then I'll just listen then. Or I just thought maybe some testing hadn't already been done, and I was wondering how you facilitated it, because when I was trying to do some testing here, people really didn't want to load the test on their phone and stuff like that. But so
Yeah,
I guess maybe Go ahead.
Phone wouldn't be too helpful anyway. Yeah, we want it on a computer plugged in typically, but yeah.
oh really? Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay,
that's good. Thank you.
all right. Sounds like you'll hear a little more. Let's see. Okay. Let's see. Let me bring up one other thing sort of having to do with our application. This is general update. So there is a construction plan that is going to go with our application. We don't know if it'll be approved. It's not public information yet. Several of you know exactly what the plan is, like what areas are going to be funded in our first chunk of funding. We know that our first chunk of money that we're going after doesn't cover all areas, doesn't cover all addresses. And I'm hesitant I think I can't make that public until it's public by being submitted to the VCBB, or by it's made public by our grant being approved. Not sure which, but it could be made public within our board. Just we have to keep our non-disclosure agreement, intact, so we don't talk about it. And I'm curious. I'm always uncomfortable that not everybody knows this information. In several weeks you will. If you don't, I'm not sure it helps if you do or don't know. Doesn't matter. It's just been in discussion and negotiation with the team that has been working on this. I wanted to put that out there. If anyone has a strong desire, I could just describe it kind of. I'm not going to try to show maps. I don't have access to them right now anyway, or I don't know, maybe I could, but I'd have some inaccuracies anyway, so it wouldn't matter. I want to put that out there. I'll entertain any feedback on that.
Well, I would like to hear about it, but it doesn't have to be tonight.
Mhm. What do you think about making this announcement at the governing board meeting?
I think it's a good idea.
Mhm.
What was that?
I don't know, there's a background noise. I think it's on Peter's because he's driving or something.
Okay.
I can mute him. Yeah, it's Peter's. Does anyone have any strong feelings one way or the other on that?
Laura, do you know if Lamoille has made the announcement yet as to who their partner is officially?
They're not disclosing.
They haven't disclosed. Okay.
Not publicly.
Yeah. So Laura, obviously, I've been working with you closely, so I know what you're describing.
Yes.
I think it is a good idea to share it with the rest of the governing board
Okay.
and just stress that it's under NDA and can't be shared publicly until we submit our application.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I always lean more towards more transparency than less, so I think it's always good to do that.
Okay. I'm not hearing any no's on that, so I think I appreciate that input, Mike, Eleanor, and even Larry mentioning that. In fact, especially with our new member, and some of us are new, and as you know, I've made errors in with our non-disclosure agreement. So I'm going to start the governing board meeting with an kind of announcing and describing where we are and what are the terms of what we can and cannot discuss publicly. So we just make it clear amongst ourselves and remind ourselves. I think that would be helpful. And then, thanks. Let's go for transparency.
Good.
Go ahead. That was nothing.
Yeah, Laura, the only other concern I have is if we do end up sharing that with the rest of the governing board, that we share accurate information that we're about to put into the application. So I think the last set of data we have may be changing
Right.
a bit. So we want to make sure we get the right files. And then, I can help you share it in the appropriate way.
Right. We discussed having the address lists, et cetera, right on the drive that our members can go to.
Right.
Yes. Thanks for that reminder.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. I'm going to move on here. VCCUD update is next item. Do you want to share more, Larry? What's anything going on?
Sure. We met Tuesday, July 11th. We have another meeting Friday, July 14th. They are doing a lot of meetings. They're working on BEAD. They're pretty much writing everything, I think, for the VCBB and including accountability. And also, I think Friday is strictly a financial meeting. So it's almost twice a week they're meeting now. There's so much going on. Getting back to the BEAD, I'm not sure if everyone's aware. They're probably aware of Vermont is receiving $229 million. But with the BEAD money, with that information we already knew, and then refreshing that with Rob Vitsky on a recent meeting that we had, there's a 25% match on that. So even if you're asking for $1 million, you have to come up with 250,000. So just so that everyone's aware of that. Let's see. And also that BEAD is open up. It's not just opened up to CUDs. Technically, our ISP could bid against us. Is that correct, Laura? I think, because it's open to them too, that BEAD funding.
I think that's technically correct.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had verbal from our partner that they intend.
Yeah, and I don't think this is a big issue. We don't think the
It's
wise
true.
anywhere in Vermont, just because of the way that we're spread out. Also, they're working on hiring another staff member. Happens to have financial background. They got a verbal offer. And they got to work out the details. June 16th, there was an RFP out. Went to 4 firms regarding strategy and consulting to work on the federal grants, in particular the BEAD funding, because that's a big one. Let's see. Vernonburg is still continuing to work on the 5-year plan. And there was also a discussion on a letter of credit, and we would need to get that from the legislature. So before they reconvene in January, there'll be a group working with legislators on that. The Make Ready draft MOU is out, and VCB is doing an update on a 5-year plan. That's out for a review, and there's a 30-day review on that. And again, they're working on this whole accountability section to present to the VCBB. So yeah, they're busy. They're doing a lot.
Thank you, Larry.
Yep.
Questions for Larry and VCUDA? Yeah, I'm really happy. Rob Vitsky at VCUDA is really engaged. You know, he's reaching out saying, can he meet with us just to see where Otter Creek is at, so he knows where we are in our application process and so on. He's, yeah, really been
And then that question about,
stick work.
excuse me, our pre-construction funding that we had and the portion that we've already used. The question is, can we roll that over into our construction grant? Again, it's unknown at this point. And Laura's trying to get that answer from the VCBB, but that's proving to be difficult because I'm not sure if they even have an answer for that yet. There's certain things the pre-construction grant, as Laura said, it can be used,
Right.
and from Act 71, and things that can't be used. So,
Yep.
Yeah, we'll hopefully get an answer for that.
And Larry, just to follow up on that, I think I said briefly, but again, I did bring this up when I talked with Lisa Birmingham from Lamoille with our legal this afternoon. And she said that it's Lucy Rogers is the VCBB staff, was actually very helpful in directing, you know, offering direction with that pre-application construction funds. So I think we're just waiting to have that conversation with them and get that organized and going. Caleb, I would probably engage Vantage Point, engage you to kind of give some assistance so we can start putting together whatever kind of budget reporting we need to follow through with that. So to come, I hope, in the next, you know, we're talking days here.
Laura?
Yeah, like,
Quick question. I didn't realize until Larry just said how involved VCUDA is in drafting the accountability guidelines for VCBB. So if that's the case, does it make sense for us to look for some help from VCUDA in making sure the agreement that we're putting together conforms to what they're drafting for accountability guidelines? Do we involve them in that process?
well, let me say, Larry, I'm going to disagree with your report only on the drafting. The draft was written by Laura Savalia and Holly Groschner. They are the VCBB staff. VCUDA is doing a real rigorous commentary on it, and they've engaged Lisa Birmingham, Krista Shute, who's the NEK super executive director, is, you know, running one of these CUDs from scratch, not hiring a partner like we are. And those two, and I think somebody else, Jonathan Baker, I don't know who that is, they're doing a rigorous review of it, and they're intending to join the VCBB meeting and make their comments heard. So I don't think it's really written by VCUDA. I mean, maybe I don't know, and VCUDA met with Holly and Laura, those staff, but my understanding it was those two staff that have been drafting this over the past few months. And as for engaging someone else, I think it's late, and I think that what has occurred is that those terms were started really from Southern Vermont, and then with us, that our previous chair, Tony, worked on those terms a bit with our legal counsel, and then those terms went to Lisa Birmingham at Lamoille, and she has upped the ante as well as tried to watch, well, that accountability policy just came out, a few days ago. But she is watching that, and she's been negotiating with our partner, and that's been going on now for probably 10 days. So our partner is there's like some small items that are close to being completely ironed out. So I would not advise bringing in a new entity into that negotiations at this point. I think we will hear from VCBB on them.
Right. Yeah, obviously the goal here is we don't get tripped up when we go to submit our application that we're missing something.
Yes.
So just want to make sure we're prepared.
Yeah. And I think that's the intent. I mean, Lisa's trying to make it much more rigorous on our partner, that they have to be more accountable. It's both, she had some in construction, but most of it is customer service.
Yeah. No, it's all good stuff. I did read through the draft, and it's all important stuff to have in there for sure.
It's also like in the failure to complete construction, not that it gets down to that. She was talking about this today, that last 2%, and contracts can kind of fizzle away, and sometimes it's really difficult unless you hold, I don't know, I don't know what exactly the terms are, but that a substantial sum of the payment is held. That's in Holly's and Laura's policy as well.
Yeah.
So, more questions, discussion? Move on to number 8, VCBB. I just probably think I had one more thing to say that I noted, since they didn't hold their meeting yet, but just so you know, they have 2 CUDs that have their applications in for review at their next meeting, which is now the 18th, and that is NEK, the Northeast Kingdom, and Maple Broadband, which we've had some interactions with Maple. So they have those 2, plus they have the accountability policy on their plate for that meeting. You might have heard, and this is true, there's a letter that was sent with the accountability policy, which nobody's happy about this, saying that the 2 people that wrote the accountability policy think that the VCB should hold any approval of grants until after the policy is completed. There's been a lot of people just like, I don't know, what do I want to say, rolling their eyes about that and thinking that will get really bad press. I think that's a horrible mistake, frankly, but I don't know. I mean, I can see their point, but my God. They've approved some, we're moving along, we're trying to get it. We're trying to make a construction schedule, and some of the, many of the other CUDs are as well. Can't be waiting. That's just me. So that's all else I have for any news that I know about VCBB. Anyone have something to add? I probably can't answer much questions. I will move on. Grants reports. Anything particular to bring up, Caleb? Probably not.
Not really. There's the monthly reporting is due this week, and there's an SFR report that's due tomorrow, but that's for construction grants. So once we actually start construction, that we'll have to start filling that progress out. But a slight update on the reporting is that there's now a portal online that you upload everything on, and they have questions depending on which report that you're uploading that we'll just need to fill out updates. So this month will be a little bit of a learning process. But yeah, those are both due this week.
Okay. Caleb, we can talk because I tried to go onto the report portal and it didn't work. That URL didn't work, but we don't have to talk about it now. Maybe
Yeah.
you've, no. Moving on to financials, Jackie said she was, I think, flooded out, so not going to get to the meeting. Waiting for invoice from you guys, from Caleb, from Vantage Point. Again,
Yep, I
email.
just got an email from our billing person, so I'll be sending that over soon. Yeah.
The only, there were a couple other items that I've sent her. One was, as I think you know, I opened a post office box for us. That's our official address in Rutland. Kind of my idea is have Rutland Regional, help us with a lot of administrative stuff so they can handle accessing that mailbox for us as well. Right now, Larry and I have the key to check it, and I just paid a 1 year, it's like $248 fee for a small mailbox. And the other is, we're going to talk about it in general, other business, but we had an invoice from our other legal counsel, because that's all set. What they sent an invoice, I sent it over to Jackie. Okay, other business. I will say that I responded to the email from GoNetSeed. I think I gave you guys that information. That was it, and that was along with legal counsel. Anything else? I don't have other business. Don't believe. I think I covered everything.
I've got a couple things.
Yes, please.
One of the things that just caught my ear at the last OCCUD meeting, I'm not sure who said it and what it was referenced, but it said when you start doing your grants and things, to make sure you have a physical address. So I'm guessing that might be different than a PO box, but yeah, I guess things get bounced back. You need a physical address. So we know we're working on that one. So, okay. The other thing,
And again, just quick, I'm hoping it'll be Rutland Regional. If
Yeah.
anyone has other ideas, I just think it makes sense for us. It's the Rutland region. I mean, if it's not them, I'd like it to be like the Chamber of Commerce, and I think Rutland Regional is going to agree. He's just, the director's getting married. Let's see. Oh, I think like this week. I don't know. He's off on a honeymoon. Go ahead, Larry. Sorry for
the
that.
other thing, getting back to our post office box, was there this afternoon, opened it and almost got knocked over. This is a portion of what was in our box. This is our survey. So we'll start. There was 43 of these
Oh,
that got labeled. They cannot be, can't be sent. So we've got 34 from Hubbardton, 4 from Benson, 1 from Sudbury, and 4 from Castleton. So let's start with Hubbardton. The email on all these from Hubbardton is 05735. The correct zip code is 05732.
oh shoot.
So I don't know if I didn't have time to go up to the window, if I can rip the label off, if that postage is still good, cross out that zip code and put the correct one in, or somebody else who sent these should do it. So that's 34 from Hubbardton.
Uh-huh.
Benson, same thing. We have one zip code with only 4 numbers on it, 5780. That didn't go anywhere. And the other ones,
Caleb, what the heck were those?
5743. The correct zip code for Benson is 05731.
Yeah,
One in Sudbury. The only thing I can see wrong is it had 121 cattail, and then there was a capital C, a small v, and a hyphen. I think the hyphen kicked it back. I don't know what the hyphen means. And Castleton, there was 4, all addressed to Pine Street. The zip code is okay, but after street again is a hyphen. And evidently the hyphen kicks these back instead of a period. So that's 43 back. And we did get 2 responses, but I haven't opened them. I'm not going to open those till you come back. So
how many
the question
responses?
is, what do you want to do? This shouldn't happen, getting the wrong zip codes.
No, but I do want to handle it locally. Caleb, you can go back to the printers and tell them they screwed up.
Yeah.
I was thinking the same.
Yeah.
It's like $26 in postage.
Yeah, I know, right?
I'll see if if I can rip these labels off, the undeliverable label.
Yeah,
If I can cross that zip code out, put the correct one in, see if that'll work, and that'll take care of.
that'd be awesome.
That'll be 34 from Hubbardton if we can do that.
That'd be great. Yeah, if you have time to do that,
Yeah,
I know you're heading out. Otherwise, I would offer to do it when I get back. It'll be like Wednesday of next week.
I'll
Probably.
go down tomorrow and see if I can straighten this out. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah.
And if you need to spend on postage, just send your. Yeah. Well, when you said 43, I was so excited. I thought you had.
No, that's not. No, that's not returns. Those are. They didn't make it out of the post office.
Hey, they made it to Vermont.
Yeah, they made it to our box. That's it.
Dang. Oh, hopefully other things go better. Thank you, Larry. Thanks for taking care of that. Appreciate it. You said you had news on that. Bad news. All right. Anything else? We're after 6 o'clock. And I forgot to buy chicken for my green curry chicken today that I'm making. Oh, I gotta go head out to the store. I had everything else on the list except that. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Next meeting is
August 9th.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yep.
Anything else before we adjourn? We will go ahead.
I
Ellen.
would just ask,
Motion
if
to adjourn.
if Mike and, well, the other person, if you guys could post this video that Laura has when you guys get a chance, because I'll need it to do the notes this time, I'm sure. That's all. Thank you.
Thanks, Eleanor. I know there was a lot of info.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to help too. We can do some.
Well, I got disconnected a couple
Oh, right.
too, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Chris, if you can post as soon as it comes up or as soon as you can.
I don't think I posted the last one that I think about that. Okay. One pain in the ass thing is when you do hit pause or stop it in a meeting for like executive session, you do end up with multiple files.
I know.
So that means I'm gonna have to try to put it to a video editor and make one file and blah, blah,
Oh.
blah.
Well, you can
No.
post 2 files.
Well,
Yeah.
not really.
Kind of.
It would be messy in YouTube if I did that,
Here's the other thing. If we're still in other business, which we aren't, but we can talk about another time. We don't have to post recordings. We can keep them for our own use, but we've been consistent with meeting minutes. Meeting minutes is the only thing that has to be posted for a public meeting in the state of Vermont.
Mhm.
So we could talk about just not doing that. It's great to have them as a backup, like Eleanor said, be able to put together minutes when, especially for virtual.
So you did record this meeting then?
It is, yeah, it's still recording. Says it's being recorded anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk about it next time. Not important. I'll put it on my list of notes. Always ideas on this, that kind of thing. Our IT admin team. Good things to wrangle around and make easier too. I don't know.
Okay.
Okay, let's adjourn unless anyone has something else. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn. Chris
Thank
Custer.
you, Chris.
Second.
Thank you, Mike.
Mike,
All in
okay.
favor of adjourning, say aye.
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 Thanks, everybody. See you next
Thanks.
week, if not before.
Bye-bye now.
Night,
Bye-bye.
night, you guys.
Good night.
Goodbye.